Alright guys, as promised, I'm going to show you some of the mobility work I do before I squat and deadlift, and kind of some of the changes I've made to my training to hopefully keep me more injury free and keep me steady progressing. So, as you saw in my last video, some of the rehabilitation work I do every day, this is my mobility work I do before I train. So, I've been dealing with a little bit of right knee pain. I've never had knee pain before in my life, and I think that's probably a function of me getting a little bit more dorsiflexion on my squats. But it doesn't hurt that bad, but actually in early January I woke up one day and my knee was swollen. I had no pain, but it was very swollen. It was really weird. Now it's not swollen, but there's a little bit of pain. So it's not restrictive really at all in my mobility, but I'm doing, this is a move Jamie Alhambra, my physical therapist, showed me, to basically just like kind of with my hands there, I'm pressing down the top of my quad on my knee to get a little more dorsiflexion. And then I start out with every workout with these are, she calls it world's greatest stretch. So I'm opening my hip there, then turning, pointing my twisting my body and my arm toward the ceiling, and then I stretch my hamstring. You can see I kind of move back there. So open the hip, point, and then I'm going to stretch that hamstring. So it's very subtle, but you'll see it, the knee that's bent, I'm going to move back, and that stretches that hamstring. So I do 8 per side, and it's usually, like after I do the knee thing, this is the first stretch I always do. And this really, I noticed a big difference in terms of it getting my hips opened up and just overall more mobile. You know, this stuff is pretty time consuming. Like when you put everything I do together, it's pretty time consuming, but if it makes a difference in me being able to lift better and being able to stay healthier in the long run, then it's worth it. So everything all together probably takes me around 45 minutes to an hour every day between rehab work and mobility work. If you're not mobile enough or skilled enough to really whip your legs around like that, you can put your knee down or both knees down and move one leg to the front. You don't have to do it exactly like I'm doing. It actually took me a while to get used to this, but I definitely noticed a big difference in my hips after I did this. And then I'm going to do a couple of specific hip openers. So you can see I'm using my elbow to push my knee out, but still keep my foot pretty flat on the floor, and I turn my belly button towards my foot. Okay, and then I hold that position for about 25 to 30 seconds. It's hard to tell how much because I don't have a clock timing it, but I just kind of guesstimate. And then once that 25 seconds is up, I turn my belly button away from my foot as much as I can while still keeping my hip open and my foot flat on the floor. So once I'm done, go to the other side, hip open, belly button towards my foot, and hold that. And you know, a lot of people will say, well, don't static stretch before you work out because it decreases strength. And I think that the research is pretty clear on that. But I'm not static stretching my quads. I'm not static stretching my hamstring. That's all dynamic stuff. And now turning away. So it shouldn't hopefully affect my absolute strength. But at the end of the day, even if it affected my strength just a little bit, if I can't stay healthy, it's not going to matter. So I've got to do some of this mobility work and really focus on the long term. So now we'll do camels. You saw some of these in my last video. So I'm going from hyperextension into flexion. Now, I'm not taking either one to the point where I feel pain. If I went past this point of flexion right there, I would have pain. So that's as far as I go. I don't take it to in-range flexion. If I took it to in-range flexion, I would have pain. And you do not want to start that pain trigger. So now, doing lateral banded lunging. So this is for hips and glutes. And I'm going to do 2 of these, and this is something I've been doing for a while now for my hips, and seems to make a good bit of difference. I'm going to do 15 steps per side. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do some reverse backward, not lunging, but kind of just athletic stance walking backward. This was something that that my physical therapist, Jamie Alhambra, recommended, trying to keep my torso straight. And then there comes Paul. He's going to troll me here in a second. So, this stuff is all, again, it all seems, and I remember when I first started doing all this stuff, I'm like, this stuff seems stupid. It's not going to make a difference on my recovery. And I can just tell you that doing the stuff that Jamie has told me to do has made an unbelievable difference. And especially considering where I was, 3 months ago, where I could hardly get up off my floor. To be able to be in the gym squatting 300 pounds is pretty incredible to me. And so, I probably neglected this stuff for a long time, but, you don't know what you don't know, and you learn from your mistakes and you do better. And, anybody who's ever tried to do anything, you're going to fail, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to have mistakes. The biggest thing is that you learn from them. So Paul right here is going to walk really, really slowly because I had my phone on time lapse. And so Paul is trying to make it like he's walking at normal speed because he is a sarcastic prick. So, love you, Paul. So, that's going to finish up that round. And, usually by the time I get done doing all this stuff, my hips feel pretty darn good. So now I'm going to do another round of the side lunges. I do 2 of these. And, I have a lot of people, I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying you should do this mobility work. That is not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that whatever issue you got, that it's going to fix it. I'm not saying if you have a hip issue, this is going to fix it. I'm not saying if you have a back issue, this is going to fix it. Because I don't know what your specific issue may be. Or maybe you don't have any issue. But what I can tell you is for my particular issues, which was a herniated disc between L2 and L3, a herniated or a bulging disc between L5 S1, and then some kind of hip tear or strain, these things made a difference for me. So, again, do not want to overemphasize it. It's not a magic solution, but for me, these things seem to make a difference. So here I am stretching my calves. This is just a stretch to help me get a little bit more dorsiflexion, hopefully a little bit more calf mobility, so I can, try to squat a little bit more upright. And I'm just holding these for like a 30 count on each foot. And actually my calves are very, very tight by nature. So are my hamstrings, my whole posterior chain. So, doing these will hopefully give me a little bit more mobility, for my frame, allow me to stay as upright as I can. Again, I'm always going to have forward lean just because of, just look at how long my femurs are there. Like, I have such long legs. I really have no business squatting over 200 kilos. And fortunately, I'm really friggin' hard-headed, and I make it work. But, so now we're going to do what's called knee wobbles, 2 sets of 15 on knee wobbles. So you can see here with my right side, or my left side, your right, I am stabilizing that band, and then the other side, I'm wobbling my knee out. And you can actually see here, like, just that my left leg is longer, because look at how much higher it is. You can tell a difference there. So a lot of people ask why my bar looks lopsided when I squat. That's because I have one leg that's longer than the other. So, I'm just basically taking that to in range of the hip internal rotation, and without having my foot come up off the floor completely. So I want to try and keep my foot flat while still going as far out as I can. And I'll do 2 sets of 15 on each side here. Then when I start my warm-ups on squat after that, I start with the bands around my knee. So You know, I'm doing warm-up sets here, but I'm focused on pushing my knees out. My first couple warm-up sets, I start with high bar. And as you can see there, even with high bar, I'm still pretty far forward. That's just, again, a frame issue of how long my femurs are and how short my torso is. You can see Paul looks really impressed with my squatting here. So, but you know, it feels good to get back in the rack, actually making some progress. Interestingly, my knee doesn't hurt when I squat at all. It actually hurts more so when I'm just like sitting. So 135 first set, then I go up to 185. Next set will be 225, and then 275 is as high as I've gone on warm-ups right now because I'm still around a 290, 300 pound working weight for my sets. As you can see, one thing I need to get better at is when I breathe, I tend to let my shoulders shrug. You can see it, boom, see the bar move? I need to try and calm that down and make sure I'm breathing into my, quote-unquote, breathing into my belly and not breathing into my chest. That's why it's really good to take video of yourself, see what you might be doing wrong. As you guys can see, I've gone to a belt now. Over 225, I'm using a belt. I'm not saying you have to use a belt. I'm not saying you don't have to use a belt. What I'm saying is this is what I do. Usually I would wait till I was about 300 pounds to use a belt, but with the injuries I've sustained, I want to make sure my core is stabilized real well. So as I get stronger, that belt will go away for these lighter sets. Here's 275. So we're just going to do a double here, and then that will end my quote-unquote warm-ups. So I really try to make every rep as identical as possible. You know, as I get heavier, it's just going to get slower due to the heavier weight, obviously. But those felt good. And working weight this day was 290 pounds for sets of 5. Obviously, not going to break any records with that, but considering 3 months ago I could barely get up off my floor, I'm very happy with this. And obviously it's moving very well, so my hope is that 290 pounds is going to turn into 290 kilos over time. And I truly believe that. I know a lot of people probably don't believe that, and they probably think that I'm out of my mind and that I'm just, you know, holding on to something that's never going to happen again. But you know what? We'll find out. We'll see test my will, test my heart, and we'll see who's right in the end. And for now, I'm going to continue to bet on myself. Here's I only did 2 sets. I'm doing pretty low volume right now, so I'm only doing 2 sets. I'm going to keep continuing to do low volume until I start to stagnate, and then I will increase my volume. Unfortunately, the camera is a little bit lopsided here. It kind of accentuates my little lean to one side. So I did these, and then you know, I think I'm looking a little more upright, which I'm happy about. And then on deadlifts, I'm only doing 1 competition deadlift day a week. The other day on this day I'm doing rack pulls with conventional deadlift. So usually my competition is sumo. Here I'm doing some conventional deadlifts from the rack, so a little bit less chance for flexion in the lower back, but still getting some pulling volume in. And actually, for some reason, I find these kind of almost as hard as regular deadlifts, just because I think I'm so powerful off the floor that by the time it gets to just below my knee, I've got some velocity in the bar, and the finish is easier. So these are good practice for me. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'll catch you next time.